All right, everyone. Hello and welcome to remote camera setup for Solar Orbiter. We're doing it a little bit differently today. We wanted to show you what it's like from getting off the bus to getting on the bus. So I'm Chris Gebhardt, Assistant Managing Editor of NASASpaceflight, and I will be with you for the entire camera setup. Thomas, say hello to everyone.
Hey, everybody.
All right, so Thomas is helping me set up Jay's video camera. Let's show them this behemoth. So this is how we get all of our video narrow and wide and everything. Thomas is going to be helping me set that up, and Mike Deep is here with us too. Glenn Davis, how's it going, man?
Well,
so we are going to go chase down Mike first. And there is the Atlas, so all of you can see that. And where we are with the nice Solar Orbiter logo right there. Let's take a look down at Centaur and all the way down to Atlas and the solid rocket. So let's run up and let's see what Mike Deep is doing here. Unfortunately, our plan was that we'd show you the entire team. But unfortunately, because of a request from ULA that only one bus of reporters get to go in to the pad at the same time, Nathan Barker was on the first bus, and Brady is on a different vehicle going to a couple of spots outside the pad. So they unfortunately cannot be on the stream with us. But let's see what Mike's doing over here, because he's setting his camera in the danger zone. Right by the flame trench where all of that wonderful exhaust is going to come out. Mary Liz, say hi.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. Mary Liz, an awesome and wonderful human being, number 42.
That's right, 42. Hey, check it out. All
There you
prepared.
go. There we go, right? Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, that's what we need. And don't panic. So here's Mr. Mike Deep.
this is where we put things to break them.
Explain that to us.
Well, the flame trench is right over there. So usually what happens here is you get all the wonderful exhaust washes over everything here. There's a lot of acid, and it tends to attack everything. And depending on which way the wind's blowing, sometimes you get a lot of the force from the exhaust coming out, and things get blown all over the place.
So Mike, one of the things I think some people are interested in, how do you go about like determining how many cameras you're going to set at the pad, where you're going to set them, and what your settings are going to be for things like this, especially a night launch?
Well, for settings, I have a lot of past launches to draw from. A lot of it's just up here now, but like if I'm ever not sure, I can go back and look at a previous launch and see what that was set at, and you know, if that wasn't perfect, I can adjust that. In terms of what I decide to set out there, it depends on the pad and the vehicle and time of day, what's launching on it. For this one, we get a lot of places to go to, so I'm going to put 5 cameras out here. Some pads we only got one spot to go, and I'll just do 1 or 2 cameras in that spot.
So what's the coolest shot you're hoping to get today, or tonight rather?
Hopefully this one. This one's always really dramatic. This is as close as we can set at anything anywhere, I'd say. I mean, maybe there's somewhere at the Wallops pad that's a little bit closer, but this is a much bigger, meaner rocket, so to be this close to it is pretty serious.
Yeah. What about pickup? When you come back out to pick up your cameras, what's the you always have these big, heavy, like black gloves when we're at an Atlas pad with solid rockets, and even the Delta pad. Why the added protection?
The exhaust from these, when they have the SRBs, includes 2 nasty things. The first is basically acid, which is pretty nasty stuff, and you don't want to get it on your hands. It's pretty irritating. And the other one is, it's like aluminum ceramic sand, and that's also nasty stuff. It tends to dry your hands out.
Aluminum ceramic sand. Yeah, none of that sounds good.
No, and you don't want to get any of this on, especially camera lenses. You don't want to get it on camera lenses. You don't want to get it on your hands. You don't want to rub it in your face. So it's like you come out here, you handle any of this stuff, do not touch your face afterwards. We'll look at this one more time before I walk away from it, because once I'm done here, I'm done.
Cool.
When you're ready, you should tell me where we're putting this, because you didn't tell me.
Yes, well, not here.
Jay would not be
Not, although this would be cool.
It would be cool.
Actually, this would be cool.
This would be a really cool place.
For the, actually, yeah, let's put it right here.
Put it right up.
Yeah.
Like, you wanna put it up.
Yeah, like right here.
Park it right here.
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah, let's do that.
I'm gonna grab the next one.
All right, cool. I'll circle back to you.
Where was it?
Cool. So the basic way. Oops. So anyway, if you're just joining our stream, I'm Chris Gebhardt, Assistant Managing Editor at NASASpaceflight, and we are here at the Atlas V United Launch Alliance launch pad, Slick 41, at the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. It is still Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. The name has not yet changed, despite one of the NASA public affairs officials saying so at a pre-launch conference for this one. The Air Force will announce in the next 30 days when the name change will actually take place. But we are here doing remote camera setup. Just gonna kind of pan around. We got Mary Liz, we got Thomas here, and then you can see all the other reporters and photographers here setting up some of their cameras. There's John Kraus of JK Photos. Wave to us, John. There we go. We'll check in with John in a minute. John's a cool guy. And you can see everyone setting up here, and some of the NASA socials are on the other side of the pad too. And what's cool about this pad is that we can really set cameras anywhere from where the camera is pointing to right now all the way to where we were just a second ago. So it's it really gives a lot of good and different angles, especially with this configuration of the Atlas in its 411 configuration with the single solid rocket. You can actually get camera views here of the rocket, either with the solid, or if you go all the way over there, which we will in a second as we chase down Mike, a side where you can see the art on the fairing and the mission logo and everything, and you actually get a view of no solid rocket booster and a great view of the two chambers of the RD-180 engine in and of itself. So as we go through this live stream, if you've got any questions for our for Mike, as the sole NSF photographer who we can follow around today, let me know. And again, huge shout out to Michael Baylor, who is producing this behind the scenes for us. Mike produced all of our huge multi-hour live stream yesterday, and he's producing all 3 of ours today, because while we are at the Atlas V pad here at the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, awaiting this launch at 11:03, and we'll be live streaming tonight about 9:45 p.m. for this launch as well. My colleague Das Valdez is actually 800 miles north of us at the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport on Wallops Island in Virginia for the Antares launch of the Cygnus NG-13 commercial resupply mission to the International Space Station that launches at 5:39 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. So Michael Baylor will be producing this live stream, the Antares launch live stream, and then the Atlas launch stream as well. So a huge shout out to Michael behind the scenes, and if you have questions, post them up in chat, because he will be relaying them to me here shortly. So Thomas is getting our video camera all set up, which is always interesting as it works because of the high angle that it's got to be set at. And Thomas, if you need me to double check that, I totally will. Yeah. But this should give us an epic camera view of the liftoff of the Atlas. tonight, and then we're gonna chase down Mike to get another viewpoint. But what's really cool too is we've got one of the ULA employees. His name is Glenn Davis, a really cool guy. He's setting up photography for ULA here too. So it's not just the media that wants to set cameras. It's not just you know, the official Cape photographer who's setting cameras. United Launch Alliance employees are also setting remotes for their organization to have. So I'm gonna check this camera really quick, and it looks like we are close.
Might need to get a little higher.
Oh, that looks good. Yep, no, I see the payload thing. Yep, I see it. Nope, we're good.
Cool.
We're good. All right, so that camera. Oh, did we turn the batteries on? No.
Oh no.
I did not. No. Okay, let me do that real quick. Oh yes, because you know, one thing you always got to remember when you're trying to set remotes at a launch pad is to turn the actual batteries on so that all the cameras make their nice little beeping sound and tell you that they're on. Because as much as you want to set a camera at a pad, if you forget to turn the batteries on, there's nothing for us to show you at the end of it. So that is our camera, and that is basically its view looking dead on at the Atlas V. So that's our video camera. Mike's got still photography set up here too. So let's go find Mike and where he is over here. So yeah, like if you've got questions about the mission too, please feel free to ask about that too. It doesn't just have to be questions to photographers, but if you really, but we really would like you to ask questions to our photographers here and to Mike, because this is sort of what we wanted to help you guys experience of what it's like to get off the bus and get back on the bus, and what it's like as you're running around a launch pad trying to set cameras, and also remembering to look at the rocket every now and then, the star of tonight's show, because you can get so focused on your work that you actually forget to look at the rocket. I can't tell you the number of times I've gotten back on the bus and just realized, oh, I never actually took a photo of the rocket. I never bothered to look at it, because you're concentrating so hard on what you're doing here. So I think there's a couple of questions that have come in, and everything like that. Mike 122222 is asking if we'll get coverage of remote camera pickup after launch. You will. We're not sure if we're going to live stream it, but at the very least we will definitely record it locally to the camera here and upload it to this YouTube channel. So I'll be talking with Michael Baylor and the team a little bit to see if we want to do that live stream. The live stream might be a little tricky because we're not sure exactly how many hours after liftoff we'll be able to re-enter the pad. They've told us it's no earlier than 90 minutes after liftoff that we'll be able to come back and get our cameras, but that could change based on what the condition of the launch pad is after Atlas lifts off. And of course, when you have solid rocket boosters, even just one solid rocket booster, that really adds a whole nother dynamic mix to the condition that the pad is in after liftoff. So one way or another, Mike, yes, we will show you what it's like to come back to a pad so close after liftoff and retrieve cameras. We just don't know if we're going to do that as a live stream or just a local record and then upload to this channel afterward. But either way, yes. Let's see. Okay, so we do have some good questions here. What are we most excited for tonight? Is a good non-camera question, and we got some good camera questions that I'll be going down to. I'll be following Mike around in a minute to ask him, but honestly, tonight I'm most looking forward to separation of Solar Orbiter and separation of Cygnus after their respective launch campaigns. It's great that we have a double header here for off the east coast of the United States, with Antares going at 5:39 p.m. and solar orbiter going at 11:03 p.m. But I'm really looking forward to the actual separation of the spacecrafts after successful launches. Thomas, you're standing here right next to me. What are you most looking forward to tonight?
Of course, spacecraft separation is always the number one thing we're excited for. But personally, at my first Atlas V launch here, I'm looking forward to a dramatic power slide off the pad with a unique one booster configuration. And looking forward to the deep rumble from that booster as well.
Yes, the groan that the RD-180 does when it ignites. It's like a whoosh kind of sound as it ignites here. Yes, definitely. Awesome. Future Martin is asking, do you prefer day or night launches? Oh, that's a hard one. I mean,
There are pros and cons to both.
yeah, at night you really get the full sense of the power of the rockets because of the light that their engines produce, but then you can't really see them. You can just see the balls of light that they create. Versus daylight launches, you get a little bit less sense of power, but you can see the rocket. So it's kind of a catch-22. But you know, night launches are just so much more spectacular because of how they turn night into day with the light, that I've got to go with night launches would win out for me.
My recommendation is go to as many launches as you can so you can see both.
Yeah. Definitely. So let's go find Mike. He walked past me a few minutes ago to go set up some other cameras. Oh, I see him running away from me all the way down to the other side of the pad. So, we will go ahead and walk down. But actually, before we do that, I want to show you guys something, because remember how I said earlier that the Atlas is that because there's only one solid rocket booster, you can actually set cameras in a specific way where you can't actually see the booster. So look at this, like where Mike set one of his cameras, you can't see the solid rocket. So this is a really cool rocket and a really cool dynamic that we have here, where the various cameras can really capture unique views of the vehicle that make it look like a completely different rocket than the one that it actually is. So I think that's one of the really cool reasons why a lot of us love the Atlas 411 with that single solid, is not just what Thomas was talking about in terms of the power slide off the launch pad, but in terms of just the way the rocket changes its overall look as it rolls and pitches and comes off the pad, depending on if you can see the booster or not. And apologies for the shaky camera. I'm hand holding this today because we're running around the launch pad and we're not actually staying static. Jared was asking, Future Martin was asking, favorite Atlas V configuration. I actually got to go with this one, the 411. It's such a crazy looking rocket. It doesn't look like it should work with only one solid rocket and the huge amount of asymmetrical thrust, but Atlas is such a champ. It just makes it look effortless, compensating for that massive thrust imbalance. So I got to go with the Atlas 411 on this one for my favorite personal configuration of the Atlas. Ethan Z911 was wanting to know, what's your favorite rocket to see launch? Oh, my favorite rocket to see launch does not fly anymore. It was the space shuttle. Hands down, watching a winged vehicle mounted to the side of a tank and solid rocket boosters, hands down, that's my favorite. Also gonna say that's my diplomatic answer too, but no, seriously, the space shuttle was my favorite rocket to see launch in person. Just absolutely gorgeous and majestic. In terms of the question, the follow-up question, what's my favorite in terms of Falcon 9, Falcon Heavy, or Atlas V? I love them all. They're all unique, and it's honestly like it's a kind of a jokey answer, right, and a diplomatic answer, but it's honestly they're all so different from one another. Even a Falcon Heavy being different from a Falcon 9, and then the obvious difference of the Atlas being a completely different rocket. It's they're too different really to compare to one another, and they're all workhorses in their own right for what we ask them to do. So I'm going to stick with my diplomatic answer of I'm not answering that. They're all awesome. All the currently operational rockets are awesome. So Thomas, you this is your first time at an Atlas pad. So as we walk down to talk to Mike,
Sure.
I'm gonna walk backwards and point it at you. So yes, make sure I don't trip over something. Stay a little bit farther. Oh, wait, there we go. So this is your first time at the Atlas pad, right? What are your overall impressions?
This is way closer than we get to some of the other pads. Now, I haven't been to the Delta pad yet, so I've heard we get pretty close there as well. But when we go to 39A or even pad 40, we're a little farther away from the rocket. And obviously, I mean, from a distance, it's hard to lose that sense of scale you get with how big these things are. But when you come up to the pad, that's when you realize how much power and how much engineering goes behind each and every one of these launches, because these things are absolutely huge. And sometimes you need sort of a humans for scale element to really grasp that. But that's probably the favorite part of coming out to the pad. And when you come to the Atlas pad, you get up real close and you really get that sense of scale.
And this isn't just the Atlas pad anymore,
That's
right?
true.
So this is also a pad that's under construction. Can you talk a little bit about like what it looks like to
Absolutely.
you? Like,
Well, on
and
the way
were you
in, we
shocked?
noticed-
Like,
well, on the way in, we noticed some differences. There's now some natural gas tanks, because as you know, the next rocket that we'll launch from here, the Vulcan rocket, which will launch coincidentally with the Atlas, will use methane as its fuel instead of RP1, which is what the Atlas is going to use. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of changes around the pad, getting ready to host 2 different rockets. And that'll be ULA shifting from Atlas to Vulcan. So yeah, there's a lot of active changes coming on around here.
and it's always weird to me when you get to like, because the SpaceX pad at Slick 40 was like this after they rebuilt it.
That's true.
Where it was so like if you I mean, like for me, remembering the shuttle days where like a nail, like a loose nail sitting somewhere on the launch pad was enough to like scrub it, you know, and you walk and you get to the Atlas pads. I was about to walk onto it. I was about to walk into the back of the bus.
I don't know where Nate is or
but it's really cool to see like active launch pads under construction with just like construction equipment and loose things just sitting by the side of the pads.
Yeah, it's different. It's different than usual, but it's very cool to see because it means new and more exciting things are coming.
Yes. So how many launches will this be for you?
For me, oh gosh, if I don't count the shuttle launch when I was like 5.
No, count it. If you saw it with your own eyes, count it.
So that's 1, and then let's see, Demo 1, STP 2. I've seen, I think, 2 Starlinks now, and Delta GPS. I think I'm up to. I think this will be my 7th then. Oh, and IFA, so 8.
Okay. Oh, that's right, because you were with us for the Delta GPS launch,
the last Delta 4 medium,
but not for the pad.
But no, I just wasn't at the pad.
Okay,
so,
gotcha.
Hoping to visit the pad when we get Delta 4 Heavy later this year.
NROL, yes, an NRO mission coming up later this year. So you can see, you know, some of the other photographers from different agencies setting up over here toward where some of the lightning tower wires come down to the ground to protect the Atlas. While weather is not an anticipated problem tonight or today,
go, last time I saw
80% go, yes. In the summertime, and especially like the frontal system squall line that we had come through this week, right, with a lot of embedded lightning, you want to make sure that your rocket is protected and that your spacecraft is protected when it is on the launch pad. So any pad in Florida has lightning towers.
All the pads around here have lightning towers. 39A is unique. It only has the one on top of what used to be the fixed service structure. I don't know if they still call it that.
They do.
But
yes.
yeah, so that. But yeah, most of the other towers you'll see are 3 or 4 different. Here we have 4. And all the wires going from all of them to redirect energy away from your precious rocket.
Yes. So this is a really cool shot. Obviously you can't set a camera here because well, I mean, you could. You wouldn't have a camera when you came back, but that is the flame trench and the business end of where all of that exhaust and everything comes shooting out at close to the speed of sound when the Atlas launches, and the and that single solid rocket.
Do not be standing here in about 11 hours.
Yeah, don't be standing here in about 11 hours is what Thomas is saying. And yeah, if anyone was standing right here, well, they'd be in a lot of trouble from security. So
yeah, among other things.
Yes. So let's keep going. Let's keep walking to find Mike. If you see him somewhere else, please let me know.
Yeah, I don't know where he is. I'm gonna hope he's over here because
he should be over here by the. He told me to find him by the LOX ball.
Okay.
And when we say LOX ball, we mean the huge liquid oxygen spherical storage tank, which is where the liquid oxygen for the Atlas booster and the Centaur upper stage is stored before launch, and it's where it's pumped out of and pumped into the rocket and the systems. And it's really cool. Mike's camera should catch it. And Nate set up down here too. He said that there's a pressure release valve on the top of the LOX ball there that right after the Atlas lifts off just starts venting.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, just starts venting all the oxygen that's boiled off in the tank. Yeah, just start shooting it out. Oh, John Krause is playing John Krause is playing hide and seek with us from behind the ULA van.
That's another difference we can point out. Atlas V, the fueling timeline is much different than some of the recent, say, Falcon 9s we've seen. They load
yeah, take us through that. Yeah,
fuel and liquid oxygen, like you said, are loaded hours ahead of launch versus SpaceX, where fueling only starts 35 minutes before liftoff.
Yeah.
So that's another difference where we're seeing when we have so many different launch vehicles down here.
And actually, this is really unique because you can't tell by the rocket right now,
true.
But the RP1 kerosene for the Atlas booster, the gold part of the rocket there, the copper part of the rocket, is already loaded. They loaded it yesterday, but it's ambient temperature RP1 instead of chilled RP1 kerosene. So they can load that a day and a half before liftoff and not have to worry about boil off. So this is actually a rare moment where the press and we get to come to a launch pad with the rocket is partially fueled for launch.
And not only that, of course, the solid rocket booster has its solid fuel already encased inside.
Well, that too, yes.
So, yeah, there's two different types of rocket fuel actually right there on the pad.
Yeah, it's pretty funny some of the waivers that you have to sign and like who's your emergency contact to get inside a pad perimeter, especially with a solid rocket like that. But like Das up in Wallops, when he was at the Antares pad yesterday, same thing, because the second stage of Antares is all solid propellant. So Das was very close to a partially fueled rocket again yesterday for that Antares mission that will be coming up. So Veronica wants to know, how close can you go with the cameras? So
as close as we were when we were setting up that first camera.
Yeah, when we were when we were setting up the video camera and we were talking to Mike, that's about as close as they let us get to the Atlas, which is pretty close. I mean, it's only like 200 feet away from the rocket on the pad. But what's amazing is that the Delta IV pad, you can get even closer. Like you can get within 80 feet or so of that rocket.
Looking forward to that.
It's absolutely amazing.
And that rocket's even bigger.
And that rocket is even bigger, yes. So we found John Krause, and we found from JK Photos. I personally like to pronounce John's name with a very thick German accent, Krause.
German, so it makes sense.
There you go. How you doing, John?
Good. How are you guys?
I am doing good. How many cameras are you setting up here today?
Just 4.
Just 4?
Yeah.
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 What's the coolest shot you're hoping for? If you don't mind.
So, no, I was just thinking. This one is really cool. At least I hope so. It's like a streak shot long exposure from the launch pad.
Ooh, streak shot long exposure from the pad.
Yeah, so it's through a ND filter because it's really bright this close. I may have to tie this slightly. Anyway, and because this rocket does that power slide because of the unique 4-on-1 configuration, it'll be like a diagonal streak. It won't be straight up.
Nice.
So hopefully that one works. And then just some other generic.
And some other generic ones, yeah.
And then some video and Yeah.
And video as well. Nice.
Yeah, but it should be exciting.
Hope it all works out for you.
Thank you.
Alrighty. And you can see all the other cameras that we have here. And we arrive at Mike Deep. Mike, how many cameras is this?
This is the 4th one I've set up so far.
Out of how many?
5. So
Out of
I got one more I got to grab and bring over here. So that's our engine shot over there. That's going to be pretty close. It's going to very clearly show there's this one solid rocket booster on this thing.
So that's going to show what? Sorry, the mic is directional. So
that's going to show very clearly there's just one solid rocket booster on this thing because there's good separation here between the RD-180 and the solid. This one is a vertical shot here that hopefully will show over time as you go through each frame how this thing kind of slides out of here. And then that last one that I'm going to go get, it has a starburst filter on it, which I don't know. I don't know what it's going to look like at night. I haven't tried that yet.
where are you going to set that up?
Also right here, but it's going to be a wide shot. So
Oh, okay, cool. Then I will wait for you to come back.
Yeah, I will be right back.
All right, cool. Cool. So what Mike was saying for one of his shots with the engine, right, is you move around the Atlas, and one of the reasons that, like we were saying earlier, right, that the Atlas 411 is a very unique configuration. Is because you can kind of here you can clearly see the booster, but you can also see its separation and how far away it is from the Atlas core stage as well, and that can give another nice unique angle as you're looking through the solid rocket booster exhaust. But you can also see one of the chambers of the RD-180 main engine on the Atlas booster itself. So that's so that's a really cool that's a really cool thing as well. And like Mike was saying, you know, this power slide off the launch pad, because of the asymmetrical thrust, is really cool. And one of the things we're hoping to capture for you is to show you exactly how much the Atlas translates to the south because of that booster. So the booster's on the north-facing side of, more or less the north-facing side of the rocket, and as it lifts off, it's going to do just what the space shuttle used to do. As those main engines of the shuttle pushed it off the center of the pad and to the north, this booster on the Atlas is going to do the exact opposite and push the Atlas more to the south in the initial seconds of liftoff. And that's a lot of what the cameras that we're setting, we're hoping to be able to bring you and show you just how much that actually occurs. We've got a few questions. We got as we wait for Mike to come back, and he's on his way back from the bus now. I see a lot of your questions about specifically about the cameras and about the setups here, which we will ask Mike when he gets back. But if you have any other questions for Mike about what it's like to be a photographer setting up here, let us know. Our other photographers, Brady Keniston and Nathan Barker, were already here at the pad, but because of ULA trying to control... Oh, yes, there is Nathan's camera. See, we found it. He was here. But because they were already here, and because ULA wanted to limit the number of people who were inside the pad perimeter for safety considerations, we weren't able to see your questions about cameras, and we'll get them answered by Mike when he gets back with us. But if you got any more, keep throwing them up. If you've got and on Monday night. And if they scrub tonight, if they scrub on Monday night, then we'll get to come back in Tuesday morning to reset all the cameras, swap out batteries, do what we need to do, or collect them if reporters and photographers have to leave before another attempt Tuesday evening. But it varies from organization to organization. It varies from launch to launch, and sometimes even it varies. Like SpaceX and NASA normally let us reset every single opportunity, but sometimes if we're launching at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and there are multiple scrubs, the time of day can even affect how often we're able to reset. So a lot of photographers use cameras with batteries that can last multiple days. So that if we get into a situation where we're not able to come back for 4 days, hopefully the camera batteries are still working, the triggers are still working, and everything like that. But Mike is back, and we've been told that we have even less time at the pad. We were originally supposed to have 2 hours, then it was down to 1 hour. Now we're being told we've got like 10 minutes left.
I wish I could say I was surprised. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah. Mike, they want to know what triggering mechanisms you use.
I make my own triggers.
Oh, tell us about that.
So, if anybody out there has ever done PCB designs with AutoCAD's Eagle, that's what I use. I have a design that I started working on way back during the shuttle days. I've sort of integrated on that design. Now I actually have PCBs made and put my own little triggering devices together. They run on 2 AA's and they go forever. I don't know. Some of these batteries I put in last year, like Falcon Heavy.
Yeah. What were you telling me? Like one battery for a trigger, like lasted from Arabsat Falcon Heavy in April through to this launch.
They're still in there now.
I gotta go, sir.
What?
I don't know. Someone just interrupted our live stream to walk behind the camera, but interrupted us. So anyway, you were saying the cameras, your triggers are timed to work out for a long time.
Yeah. So the battery life is really, really long. And I can because I build them with these utility timers, I can put a whole bunch of different dates in them. So these are set actually for 3 days worth of timing. If I wanted to take the time, I could program them out for like 2 weeks and never come get the cameras, but I never need to do that.
As a photographer, do you prefer day or night launches?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, no.
We had similar problems with that question.
Yeah, like
The problem with that question is it depends on what's happened recently. If we've just done a whole string of one or the other, we kind of get sick of it. We've been doing a bunch of day launches, so this doesn't.
5 minutes.
This doesn't. Yeah, this one doesn't bother me too much. If this was like the 4th night launch in a row, I might have a different answer.
Why the box? That the camera's in.
This is a point of contention with all remote photographers, it seems. Some people like the boxes, some people like just a bag.
Nate just has a bag over his camera there that you can see.
The truth is, it's one of those things where there's probably no right or wrong answer. I like the boxes because I can line them with this thermal insulation, protect them from the heat of the sun. It also protects them from the rain, and it protects them physically. Like the port here for the remote trigger on the camera is not something I want to get hit. So by having them all in these boxes, I can just pile them on the bus. I can bump them into each other. I don't have to worry about any of that. It also gives me points to mount things too. So I've got my triggers mounted inside here, and they're not flopping around or coming loose or anything.
So the question that DAP dude was asking, he was specifically asking what kind of box you use. Is it homemade, and what's all in it?
We got probably a second here if you want to bring this around. Let's see, this would be the easiest one to get into right now. So inside here is back there's a battery and a time controller for the dew heater, which is on the lens, and then this piece here is actually the trigger, and then all the cables and stuff running everywhere.
And it's a sound trigger, right?
Yeah, that's a sound and time trigger, so it's only going to listen during our launch window tonight.
So you can just set it to not be taking constant photographs, but just during the window itself or a little bit before. Right.
I could set them to always on, but I set them just to roughly run around the window, and then if it rains or there's something makes a loud noise out here, it won't go off. And that's part of why I can leave it out here for so long.
Good. Have you ever used MyOps triggers?
I have not.
You have not? Okay.
They're very popular, but since I make my own, I just don't need them.
Gotcha. And Nate was asking that, and I know our Nate uses MyOps, and so does Brady, I believe. Yeah. This is Nate's camera right here. Yeah, so no problem showing it to you. So that, like, if I were to tap on it, I'm not going to. I somehow managed to break it. But yeah, like if I tapped on it, it should take a photograph.
Yeah,
right now.
That's always listening.
Yeah, that's always listening. Yeah.
You can hear people.
And you can hear people clapping, testing
going on up
theirs.
the hill
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
It's not.
Which is always interesting. Yeah, don't forget that. So the shots you've got today are kind of designed so that, because of the unique configuration of the Atlas,
Yeah.
right, like you get both ones with the solid in the picture, and one where it doesn't look like it has a solid except for the gigantic bright light, right?
The one I don't think we got to see it. It's over there where the train tracks used to be. Not really going to show the solid. It is going to. We've got. I said the engine shot. We've got a more moderate one, and I think Nate's camera there that you were looking at is a wide. Yeah, that's a wide angle. So we'll get it every which way over here.
Okay. Have you ever lost a camera because of a launch?
I've not lost the camera, but I have lost quite a few lenses, and it's always this rocket that does it.
So are you expecting to lose lens? And how do you lose a lens and not a
Nah.
camera, for those of us who are not photographers?
So we were talking about the exhaust earlier in the stream. The exhaust is highly acidic once it's hydrochloric acid after it mixes with the water in the sound suppression system, and that attacks lens coatings. And once that happens, it's over. That lens is toast unless you can replace the front element.
Is that one of the reasons you were saying you wear gloves when you come around to pick up the cameras?
Same substance. So for today, what I've done is put a filter on everything. Some people won't do this, but I got dew heaters, so I don't really have to worry about the filters fogging up. There's a neutral density filter on that one for the engine shot. There's a clear filter. Nope, there's no filter on that one because I can sacrifice that lens. We might lose that one. Good news, people.
Why are you saying we can sacrifice that when it seems like such a good camera? It's done us well.
It's a $20 lens.
Oh, it's a $20 lens.
And then this is the cross screen filter. So that's not on there strictly for protection. That's going to create a starburst effect, hopefully. It might just come out weird mush. We'll see. But yeah, the other two over here, especially that one up close, has a filter on it because I'd like to have that lens back. That's
even though it's in the danger zone.
That's where you'll lose lenses. I still have a couple that I destroyed in that exact spot.
But those were with like the 5, the Atlas is with like the 4 and 5 solid rocket boosters, right? Not the one.
A little bit more hectic with those, but still, it can happen even with the one.
Because your camera that you placed there for Starliner came through just fine, right? Even with 2 solid rockets?
It was super nasty, but it did clean up, and it was okay. Yeah, but it was the nastiest, one of the nastiest cameras I've ever recovered from this.
Ah, gotcha. So stay behind me so that I can keep you guys in, or stay in front of me, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm walking backwards, just make sure I don't walk into anything. But one of the questions we got too is what's your favorite rocket that you've seen launch?
My favorite rocket? Probably those Delta IV mediums. They won't fly anymore.
Ah, yes.
Those were pretty rockets. There was a nice pad to set up at because there's so many places to set cameras.
And you can get so close to the Delta.
You can get very close to you can get very close to this, but you can get very close to the Delta. And the solids on the Delta had a lot of separation visually from the main engines. Mm-hmm. Even in flight, you could still see you could see daylight through the main engine exhaust while the SRBs were off to the sides obscuring everything. It was a really dynamic, it was a pretty rocket. I liked it. I liked every Delta IV medium launch I went to. Yeah, that'd be my answer.
Okay.
The one they don't fly anymore.
And from a launch viewing perspective, any rocket with solid boosters is going to have an extra sound to it. And I got to see one Delta medium, and the sound from that was awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the crackle and like thunder of the solid rocket boosters is kind of indescribable if you're not here.
Yeah.
To witness it in person and hear it in person.
It's not just a sound, it's a feeling. Because it hits you in the chest.
Yeah, like I like to describe it as like you can feel the air rattling in your lungs and everything.
If there's one thing we can convince you of today, come see a rocket launch.
Yeah.
Right?
Chance you get.
If any of you are in the DC metro area, you're only a couple hours from a launch right now.
Oh, that's true. Yes, yeah. Head on over to Wallops to watch Antares go to this evening.
Which we will have live coverage of via
Yes, via DOS.
So Antares this evening will be visible for pretty much all of the DC metro area. This will be visible for pretty much all of the Florida Peninsula. So even if you can't drive anywhere, you can at least stick your head out the window and see a launch today.
And if you're watching from the Bahamas, from Haiti, Cuba, the Dominican Republic, this launch will also be visible tonight to you and parts of Puerto Rico, I think, as well, as it heads, because it's not going east, it's going east-southeast out of here. So that should that provides some good viewing opportunities. But unfortunately, people in southern Georgia who normally get to see rocket launches are not going to get to see this one. Like the visual cone literally stops like just south of the Florida-Georgia border. So
not that there is any shortage of rocket launches coming up in the near future from Cape Canaveral.
Right, not that there's any shortage of rocket launches. Exactly. But anyway, that is going to wrap it up for us here. Again, thank you so much for joining us today for this tour. I hope you guys liked this sort of unique view of chasing around our photographers as they set their cameras up and everything here at the pad. I am Chris Gebhardt, Assistant Managing Editor of NASA Spaceflight. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. We promise we don't spam you with live streams that are irrelevant or videos that are irrelevant. They're all about wicked cool things with rockets. And again, we're going to wrap up our live stream here from Slick 41 with the Atlas, ready for its countdown and fueling operations for the launch of the ESA and NASA Solar Orbiter mission. Our next live stream will begin at 16:30 EST, 21:30 UTC for the launch of the Antares rocket from the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport in Virginia. DOS will be the primary host on that one, with me calling in as well. So we hope to see you at 4:30 Eastern for the Antares launch live stream, and then we hope to see you again at 9:45 p.m. Eastern, 2:45 UTC for our live launch stream and live coverage of the launch of this rocket with Solar Orbiter today. I'm Chris Gebhardt. Thank you all for joining us, and we will see you later.